Imagine stumbling across a hidden valley in the American West. A valley where the ground sparkles with rubies, emeralds, and diamonds just waiting to be picked up by anyone lucky enough to find them. Now imagine convincing the richest men in America, bankers, generals, even scientists that this valley was real. That is exactly what happened in 1872. It was the greatest diamond hoax in American history. A con so convincing, it nearly created an entire mining industry out of a thin air. Today, adjusted for inflation, this scam was worth more than $1 billion. This is the story of the Great Diamond Hoax of 1872. A tale of greed, ambition, and how two clever swindlers fooled some of the smartest people in the country. To understand why the hoax worked, we need to go back to America in the mid-1800s. The California gold rush of 1849 had changed everything. Tens of thousands of people rushed west, digging, panning, and dreaming of instant riches. Most failed, but the dream that one lucky strike could make you a millionaire overnight never really died. By the 1870s, the frontier was still wild. Railroads were expanding, cities were growing, and Americans were obsessed with finding the next big mineral discovery. Silver in Nevada, gold in Colorado, copper in Montana. Each strike created instant fortunes, booming towns, and new millionaires. So when whispers began to spread about diamonds in the American West, people were ready to believe. The hoax began with two men, Philip Arnold and John Slack. They weren't famous, they weren't rich, they weren't even particularly charming. Arnold was a Kentucky-born prospector, tough, quiet, and with just enough mining knowledge to sound convincing. Slack was his cousin, less experienced but willing to play along. Together, they came up with a plan. If they couldn't find a diamond mine, they'd make one. It started small. In 1871, Arnold showed up in Francisco with a mysterious sack of rough, uncut diamonds and rubies. He claimed he'd discovered a secret deposit somewhere far out in the wilderness. He was careful. He didn't brag. He didn't sell them right away. Instead, he played the role of a humble prospector who'd stumbled onto something he barely understood. And that humility, that made people trust him. Arnold and Slack knew exactly how to build curiosity. They hinted at a hidden valley filled with gems but refused to give details. They carried bags of stones into banks and jewelers, showing just enough to spark greed. The stones were real, but they hadn't come from a mine. They had bought them in bulk from dealers in London and Amsterdam. Cheap quality stones, but real enough to fool the untrained eye. The trick was simple: salt the land. Arnold and Slack would scatter gems across a patch of remote ground, making it look like nature had displaced them there. When investors came to inspect the site, they would dig up handfuls of jewels from the dirt. Every spadeful sparkled, every rock glittered. It was the perfect illusion. Word began to spread quietly among America's elite. Bankers, politicians, and industrialists all wanted in. The list of victims is shocking. Asbury Happening, a wealthy San Francisco businessman; George Roberts, a respected banker; even General George McClellan, the former Union Army commander, invested. These were not naive men. They were some of the sharpest minds in the country. But the fear of missing out, what we would now call FOMO, was too strong. Everyone wanted a piece of America's first diamond rush. Investors put together millions of dollars to scale the mine. Newspapers whispered about a discovery so big it could rival South Africa's diamond fields. The United States, people thought, was about to become the new world leader in precious stones. The scam might have fallen apart if not for one critical detail. The investors decided to hire an expert. They brought in Harry Janin, one of the most respected mining engineers in the country. His job? Inspect the site. Arnold and Slack guided him on a grueling journey into the wilderness, somewhere near the Colorado-Wyoming border. Remote, empty land. When Janin arrived, the ground seemed to glisten with riches. He dug, sifted, and found exactly what the swindlers wanted him to find: diamonds, rubies, and sapphires. He was convinced. In his official report, Janin declared the mine authentic and worth at least $40 million, an unimaginable sum in 1872. His word sealed the deal. Now, it wasn't just rumor. Science had confirmed it. With Janin's approval, money poured in. Investors formed the San Francisco and the New York Mining and Commercial Company, a name designed to sound solid, trustworthy, unstoppable. Plans were made to develop the mine. Shares were issued. Fortunes changed hands. In today's money, the scheme was worth more than $1 billion. And through it all, Arnold and Slack played their parts perfectly. They acted reluctant, claiming they didn't want too much attention. They asked for modest payout to sell their share of the mine. In reality, they were cashing out, walking away with millions. It was one of the sleekest cons in American history. So how did it all unravel? Enter Clarence King, a young ambitious geologist working for the US government. King was no ordinary scientist. He was brilliant, adventurous, and determined to map the geology of the American West. When he heard rumors of a diamond field, he was suspicious. King knew that the geological conditions in that part of the country weren't right for diamonds. Something didn't add up. So he set out with a small team to inspect the site himself. Unlike the others, King didn't just dig where the Conmen suggested. He searched the area more widely, and what he found was telling. Gems only appeared in the spots where Arnold and Slack had led people, nowhere else. It was clear the field had been salted. King exposed the fraud in late 1872. Newspapers exploded with stories. Investors were humiliated. The dream of an American diamond industry collapsed overnight. What happened to the swindlers? Philip Arnold, the mastermind, walked away with over $500,000, a fortune at the time. He returned to Kentucky, invested in banks, and lived as a wealthy man until his death a few years later. John Slack, his cousin, disappeared into history. Quiet, forgotten, never punished. As for the investors, many of them never recovered financially or socially. They had been embarrassed on the national stage. Henry Janin, the mining expert who gave his seal of approval, never lived down the humiliation. His reputation was permanently damaged. But Clarence King, the man who exposed the hoax, became a national hero. His work later helped establish the United States Geological Survey. The Great Diamond Hoax of 1872 wasn't just a funny story. It was a warning. It showed how even the smartest, richest people can be blinded by greed. How the promise of quick riches can make us ignore common sense. It also revealed the power of confidence tricks. Arnold and Slack didn't need weapons or armies. They just needed a good story and a little patience. In the end, America didn't get its diamond fields, but it did get a lesson in skepticism. A reminder that if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. The Great Diamond Hoax remains one of the boldest scams in American history. A tale of two ordinary men who fooled the generals, bankers, and scientists using nothing but dates, stones, and imagination. It's a story that still matters today because while the gems may have been fake, the greed, the dreams, and the lessons are very, very real. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. The next story is closer than you think.